Make music wherever you go. Each of us in life is a traveling musician. We share our music with others on a daily basis. Sometimes we are asked to accompany, and at other times we take the lead and perform solo on the stage of life. The tempo is always changing. Sometimes we rejoice in the major events of our lives. At other times we mourn at the sadness of the minor moments we experience. There are intricate harmonies and majestic melodies that move us in meaningful ways. Life is a musical score. Each of us plays many parts as instruments in the symphony of life. In turn, we each become the composers and arrangers. Thank you for listening to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of the Cool Song series. I am also the creator of Essential Piano Lessons. It's part of an essential piano exercise course that I've created as well. Today's podcast is titled, Make Music Wherever You Go. And today I would like to encourage everyone, whether you are a musician or not, to think about what the world would be like without music. Can you imagine what a sporting event would be like without any music of any kind? A football game, a basketball game, a baseball game. Can you imagine what the rodeo would be like without music? Can you imagine watching a movie or a commercial without any music, any sound effects? What would that be like? In my honest opinion, it would be dismal. Music is such a big part of who we are. It's a part of our lives. It's a part of our world. From the commercials and movies and sitcoms we watch to the sporting events we attend. Music has such a powerful effect that it can change lives. And we'll talk more about that later on. For the positive perceptions portion of this podcast, I would like to read from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers, on page 31. This is what it says. Make music wherever you go. Each of us in life is a traveling musician. We share our music with others on a daily basis. Sometimes we are asked to accompany, and at other times we take the lead and perform solo on the stage of life. The tempo is always changing. Sometimes we rejoice in the major events of our lives. At other times we mourn at the sadness of the minor moments we experience. There are intricate harmonies and majestic melodies that move us in meaningful ways. Life is a musical score. Each of us plays many parts as instruments in the symphony of life. In turn, we each become the composers and arrangers of our own musical masterpiece. At times, the dissonance disfigures the magical movements where melodies and harmonies intertwine and become inseparable. Share your music with others. Make music wherever you go. Now, if you think about it, music is such an integral part of who we are. Music is made not only by musicians, composers, bands, orchestras. Music is made by the crashing of the waves. You can hear music, little melodies, as the wind blows through the trees and the leaves rustle. If you're camping or out in nature, you can hear birds chirping and singing. You can hear crickets. Every animal makes some sort of melodious noise or music. Some sound beautiful. Others sound ominous and frightening. But everyone makes music, and they share their music with others. Even if you are not a musician, everything you do about your life, every word you say, the way you live your life, how you interact with others, it's as if you are sharing your music with the world. For the Motivation in a Minute portion of this podcast, I would like to read from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers, on page 199. This is by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This is what Goethe says. One ought, every day at least, to hear a little song, read a good poem, see a fine picture, and, if it were possible, to speak a few reasonable words. That's a wonderful quote. One ought every day at least to hear a little song, read a good poem, see a fine picture, and, if it were possible, to speak a few reasonable words. It's fascinating how many women and men throughout history have done so much with music and have taught about the importance of music. I'm going to read just a few quotes from great women and men throughout history. I'll start with Plato. He actually said quite a bit about music. Plato said the following: I would teach children music, physics, and philosophy, but most importantly music, for the patterns in music and all the arts are the keys to learning. Plato also said, music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. In the Republic, Plato said, music training is a more potent instrument than any other, because rhythm and harmony find their way into the inward places of the soul. Victor Hugo said, music expresses that which cannot be put into words, and that which cannot remain silent. Napoleon Bonaparte said, music is what tells us that the human race is greater than we realize. Confucius said, if one should desire to know whether a kingdom is well governed, if its morals are good or bad, the quality of its music will furnish the answer. So it's interesting because so much of what happens in life is about learning and growing, about making mistakes, about striving to do our best and be a little better. We've talked about that many times before. But there's so much for us to do, and so much we can do in life, that sometimes I think little things like music is something that just goes on in the background when it should be at the forefront of our lives. Whether or not you play a musical instrument, you don't have to become a musician to appreciate music. You don't need to be a maestro in order to have a fulfilling life where music touches you deeply. Albert Einstein said, if I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. So it's interesting how music plays such an important part of our lives. I'll do one more quote. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, music is the universal language of mankind. As I have spoken at various organizations, groups, companies, schools, whether they are home schools or high schools, junior highs, colleges, I will often tell people that the two universal languages that everyone speaks is the language of music and the smile. See, our facial expressions actually say a lot. Everyone, regardless of culture, regardless of their level of education, regardless of where they live in the world, the color of their skin, how tall they are, how short they are, everyone understands a smile. And music is a universal language. Everyone can connect with music. It's emotional. It's intellectual. Whether or not it has lyrics, instrumental music can be powerful. It can change the way we view the world. For the Music Within portion of this podcast, I'd like to have you listen to Sweet Serenity from my album, Sweet Serenity. For the Poetry That Motivates portion of this podcast, I would like to read a poem of mine from my book, The As If Principle, Motivational Poetry. This poem is titled, The Baton. The baton. The baton on the floor was beaten and sore after waving for hours each day. It was tired and new, the music was through, but saddened to know it had nothing to do. The baton is the leader, and musicians will follow their leader through uncharted tunes. When dissonance clatters, it's the harmony that matters, even if it seems different or new. The baton has moved on, new musicians have come, but their music continues to play. The music's not through, and we'll be gladdened to know that in our symphony of life, we all have room to grow. Now everyone has an opportunity to share their music. Our music has less to do with the musical instruments we play, or the treble or bass clef notes we read or notate. Our ability to be good, our ability to think for ourselves, to be kind, to serve, to love, to appreciate the simple aspects of life. These almost seemingly insignificant areas of life can do so much good for so many, and often we overlook them because of their simplicity. How we make music, the compositions that we personally compose, it has more to do with our character, with our heart, with our mind, with our soul, than it does with key signatures and time signatures. As we make music, we share smiles, we share laughter, we speak with others, we look others in the eye, we teach them, we talk with them, we grow, and they grow in return. And music is made. If you think of a melody, a melodic line, musically speaking, is just one line. Now, think of it as a horizontal line. A melody is just one voice. Whether it's one instrument or one voice, a melody is singular. The harmony, think of a vertical stack. So, instead of a vertical line extending straight up, think of a skyscraper or a tower. It has a foundation and it moves upward. Well, a melody is singular. Harmony is plural. It's compound. It's complex. It's more than one voice. If we focus on ourselves, we may have a beautiful melody. But until we share ourselves with others, until we learn from others, until we get out of ourselves and start to let others into our lives, we will not be able to make harmony. And for us to truly live a harmonious life, we need to be an influence on others and be influenced by others. Again, it's a circle where we make music. We share our music with others. They share their music with us. I would like to invite you to do 5 things this week that will help you learn and grow and do and be your best. 1. Listen to classical music today. You may have never listened to classical music or instrumental music, but if you will listen to classical music today or this week, what happens as you close your eyes and just hear the instrumentation, the orchestration? You can listen to something by Beethoven or Mozart or Bach. You can listen to something by Chopin, Rachmaninoff. There are so many great classical composers, past and present. I was just naming a few from the past. But listen to something classical this week. 2. Read a short biography of a composer today. I don't mean you need to read an entire book. Just a short paragraph or a lengthier paragraph, a few paragraphs, about a composer. You can go to Wikipedia and type in Ludwig van Beethoven or Johann Sebastian Bach. You can type in any composer. You can even type in composers and see what comes up. 3. Play a musical instrument. If you don't yet know how to play a musical instrument, learn how to play a simple instrument. It could be a recorder. It could be a harmonica. You could start playing piano. Something simple just to start to make and create music of your own. 4. Learn to read music. It's not as difficult as it may seem. You have a treble clef, you have a bass clef. You could just learn how to read individual notes on a line in the space. You can learn about quarter notes, half notes, whole notes. It doesn't need to be something extensive. Just learn one tiny little facet about music this week. 5. Compose music of your own. If you cannot yet play an instrument, see if you can whistle. If you can't whistle, try to snap your fingers, clap your hands. Do something where you are personally making music. It is the process of making music that can make a big difference in our lives and in the lives of others. Try it this week. Let me know what happens. But thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a great time and try to make music wherever you go. Thanks for listening. See you. Bye. Subscribe to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast, to receive updates of each new weekly podcast produced and released by Jerald Simon. A new podcast is recorded and released on Mondays. Listen on any podcast platform of your preference. But I'd love to have you listen to my music as well. You can listen to my music and find my artist name, Jerald Simon, Jerald Simon. You can listen on Spotify, on Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon, all the different streaming platforms. I would love to have you check out my YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/Jerald Simon. JeraldSimon. I have Motivation in a Minute and Poetry That Motivates videos that I have produced, in addition to my own music videos and music educational instructional tutorials that I've created to help teach music the fun way. I'd love to have you check it out. I'd love to connect with you on social media. You can connect with me on any social media platform. You can go to facebook.com/Jerald Simon. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the different social pages at Jerald Simon. JeraldSimon. But I'd love to have you check out my music. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a great day.